Hello there. Ooh, the eco-greenies are going to get hot under the collar. Boris has suggested that the UK might be about to ramp up North Sea oil and gas production, and it might mean fracking too. Now, if you thought Brexit was divisive, then look at the divisions coming out of the Russian-Ukraine war. I would never have credited it, but the level of pro-Russian, pro-Putin sentiment out there in the UK is much higher than I thought. And much of it is driven by a total mistrust of all Western governments after the wars they have dragged us into, the way the pandemic restrictions and mandates were pushed on us, and extreme suspicion of this almost worldwide, single-minded push to build back better. And it has also sparked off divisions on whether or not we should have nuclear weapons. And now it will also re-spark the drilling and fracking arguments. In a press conference this afternoon, Boris Johnson said that given the Ukraine crisis and the need to wean the West off of Russian oil and gas, the UK is looking at the possibility of using more of our own hydrocarbons. And this will of course attract accusations that we're going to somehow be burning more oil and gas and emitting more carbon into the atmosphere, which is of course a complete fallacy. All we'll be doing is burning our oil and gas instead of Russia's exported hydrocarbons. It will also increase UK energy security and also possibly alleviate the pressure on our European friends and partners. And using more of our own oil and gas might free up Norwegian exports to go to places like Germany and Italy. But importantly, it would reduce the flow of UK and EU money into the Kremlin's coffers, something that would drain finance from Putin's Ukraine expedition. So those in the UK hoping for Putin to win this particular battle had better get campaigning to stop the UK push to produce more oil and gas. But it's not just the UK. For example, the US is looking to lift its embargo on Venezuelan fossil fuels. Now, according to a spokesman for the Paris-based International Energy Authority, speaking to GB News today, Russian fracking techniques are not particularly clean and leave a lot to be desired. So we should be doing fracking in the UK to help save the planet. And as gas prices rocket and people need to eat and heat, then public opposition may well fall away. And it's worth mentioning that Russia Today, as it was then known, ran an endless stream of anti-fracking stories, and Russian behind-the-scenes lobbying took place to try and stop their grip on the world's gas supplies getting loosened. The Centre for European Studies reckoned that the Russian government put $95 million into anti-fracking campaigning, and according to thecritic.co.uk back in December 2019, pro-Russian politicians such as Lord Truscott, married to a Russian army colonel's daughter, made speeches in Parliament against fracking. Now, I know a lot of people out there are absolutely against fracking and would rather everybody froze to death instead, or just wrapped up more, but for some people that is not an option. And even with better insulation, you still need to heat your home. But what I find interesting is that no one's come forward with a firm plan to fill the energy gap with more wind farms and solar panels. Surely we could knock a few of those out quite quickly. But maybe it's because they aren't consistent enough to provide the solution to this particular problem. But ramping up our gas and oil production will not happen overnight.